Well, Tony, Matt was certainly taking a shot before you jumped on that,
Mhm.
of course, UCLA was the one to take a little luster off of this one with
Yeah,
Sure.
thanks a lot.
yeah, against the Arizona Wildcats. But
Right.
still, Matt was also letting us know that this is not, prohibited the UCLA players from pounding their chests a little bit and saying, "Hey, we're coming after them, and we can hang another 62 plus on USC
Yeah.
this year."
Yeah. Look, I mean, I hate to say it, but how typical of UCLA to lose a game to a, completely undermanned Arizona squad who shouldn't have belonged on the field with UCLA that night. And, UCLA puts up one of their lows of the season in terms of points scored. It was for decades, a kind of a typical UCLA thing to do going into the biggest game. What were they looking ahead? No one's ever going to admit anything like that. So it did. It took a little luster off of it. The entire Pac-12 is just in such a strange predicament, of course, with the no divisional play, and you've got the top two teams that are going to go, because you've got a USC who's at 7-1 in the conference, and Oregon's there at 6-1, and Utah at 6, and UCLA down at 5-2. USC is carrying the hopes of whatever Pac-12 playoff aspirations still exist. Needs to win out. And by Pac-12 rules, a three loss school is not eligible for the Pac-12 championship game, which could be kind of weird depending upon what happens this weekend with some of these games. So it's great because this is the way it should have been without the divisions. It should have been just you take your best, you let everybody play through that 12 weeks, you take the top two and let them hammer it out on the field like that. And so it is terrific. You're right, Mark. There is the chest thumping, which there should be for this game. That's okay. I don't like it most of the year, but I like it for this game because it tells you that that's what this game is all about, and everybody knows it. And I think Dorian Thompson Robinson saying earlier today that we really hate those guys, and who DTR claiming that SC players were cussing at them a couple of years ago as USC won at the Rose Bowl. And this is the kind of game where you don't even know if half of these stories are true, but they're there and they go off legend. And you got UCLA players from 15, 20 years ago talking about something that happened in their game with and you don't even know if it's true, but over time being as much as 30 days, then the story just builds and these things happen. And you've got both statues on campus covered up now, all week, the Tommy Trojan statue and the Bruin bear, and, people guarding the statue 24/7 and things like that. And you start to hear some legendary stories, and they of course grow in stature over time, but that's what makes it fun.
Talking about DTR, let's just unpack this. He said he expects to score over 60 points and do better than last year, which was 62. And hey, if I'm looking at Alex Grinch's USC defense and I'm looking at Eric Gentry perhaps not playing, I'm not. Am I going to blame DTR for mouthing off like that? Not really.
Probably not.
This goes back to your point. You do this after you scored just 28 against an Arizona defense, which had given up 45 or more in 5 of its previous 6 games, including 49 points to Cal. You scored just 28 against that defense. So, it's really just the timing of it. But, of course, timing is kind of relative because it's rivalry week. You don't really have another opportunity to do this. So, I posted this at Trojans Wire because, of course, that story is going to get read. That's the business I'm in. You post what people are going to read, provided it's reasonably wholesome and not totally off the rails.
Right. There's enough of that out there.
I don't blame DTR for that. What's really interesting is UCLA safety Mo Osling saying, quote, "We know we're going to replicate," unquote, last year. Oh, now come on. You're part of a bad defense, and you just got roasted by Jalen DeLora. Like, DTR has the right to talk, right? He's a Heisman candidate. I mean, his Heisman candidacy took on a lot of water. Like, he was in the mix. He was in the mix. I mean, he's an elite player. He has a pro future. If you're Mo Osling, what are you doing knocking off? Like, we can divide here. I don't have a problem with DTR thumping his chest to UCLA, but Mo Osling, who are you? Do you matter? Like, this is Don Draper, in the elevator in Mad Men. Oh, I don't really think about you at all. That's Mo Osling. What are you doing running your mouth? And so hopefully USC is going to, notice these things and bring the fire.
Here's the thing. I don't believe, especially in a game like this, I don't believe in bulletin board material, because if you need bulletin board material to get pumped up for this game, you're really playing the wrong sport and should reconsider your future. That having been said, is UCLA going to put up 62 plus on USC? Probably not. I'm going to say probably not. But look, both defenses are terrible. They just are. It's UCLA's defense is improved, but as I say to my staff a lot, you can't fall off the floor. So, which is where UCLA's defense has been most of the last 4 years under Jerry Azzinaro. So they go out and they get Bill McGovern, and I got to be honest with you. I mean, I've seen every UCLA game a couple of times, at this point. Why? Because I've got, 17, 18 games a week I put on the DVR on top of all the stuff I watch live and the games I cover live. And Bill McGovern's defense is Azzinaro light. It's a little less filling than Azzinaro, but all the badness that goes with it. I mean, they're 69th in the country in total defense, and they're giving up 376, 77 yards per game. The offense basically has been covering over all of the badness from the defense by just outscoring everybody. So yeah, Mo Osling is probably
leads the team in tackles.
Well, again,
kind of the same way Bryson Shaw's been getting a lot of tackles for USC because
a broken clock is right twice a day. So, whatever with his comments. The only thing, if you're going to look at what DTR said, at least he's looking at it and saying, well, our defense may not be all that, but SC's is 87th in the country. So, they're giving up another 30, 40 yards a game over what we are. And so I'm going to lick my chops. Here's the thing with DTR, and in all seriousness and in all honesty, here's the thing with his game is UCLA is getting the DTR they've been hoping for years. And that is this. Caleb Williams has better stats. He's got better yardage. He's controlling the offense a little bit more. He's got more touchdowns. I think his touchdown to interception ratio is better. What UCLA is getting from DTR is the mistake-free football. The game is coming to him in a natural rhythm instead of him trying to force the rhythm. He's got 4 interceptions this year. That's okay, really, honestly. You'd like him to have a little bit fewer, but he's throwing it at 72% completion rate. Again, not the same amount of attempts, not the same amount of yards, because they got a dude in the backfield named Zach Charbonnet. So they don't need DTR to air it out, all game, every game. But they're getting the DTR who's just letting the game come to him and attacking the game in a natural rhythm and not forcing things. And that's the Dorian Thompson Robinson UCLA fans have been waiting years to see.
And this brings up a very ironic point, Tony. Mm-hmm. You talked about how DTR has been so much more patient in the UCLA offense this year. UCLA was not patient at the end of that game.
Right.
You're at the Arizona 29 with 22 seconds left. That means you have at least 4 plays. If you get a first down, you might even be able to squeeze 5 plays out of those 22 seconds. You should be throwing a 15-yard pass on that play from the 29 to get inside the 15-yard line, and then you take the 3 shots at the end zone. But Chip Kelly and DTR, who have been around the block, who know better, who should know better, 4 chuck and pray lobs from the 29, and that was not the patient UCLA offense that we've seen this year.
Agreed. And it's easy to take shots at Chip Kelly. He's lent himself to it over the last 5 years, nearly 5 years. That is on him because A, he's calling the plays. Now, B, at this point, DTR's got a chance to check off, the line of scrimmage, but he doesn't have the complete freedom that other quarterbacks do within their offense. And I'm talking about quarterbacks around the country that we see that are doing great. He can make changes within limitations. It is Chip Kelly's offense, and that play calling is on him. And at this point, and you bring up a good point, these two have been around the block together.
Yes,
since the entire Chip Kelly era at UCLA. He should know his quarterback and the offensive rhythm. I keep using that word, but that's what you see when UCLA is clicking correctly in their offense. That's what he should know where DTR is at that point in the game, how he's feeling, and what's there in front of him. And there really was no good rhyme or rationale for that play calling down there. There really wasn't. It felt desperate.
Sure did.